So as we know, every single time a new update comes out, there is obviously a new vehicle added to the meta, which makes it a lot more interesting throughout playing the game. So the new T-14 Armata is actually closely matched by the Abrams X as the time goes today, and we're gonna see if it truly is the best free-to-play tank, but also people have been asking, is it better than the Abrams X? In today's video, we'll be figuring that out, and we will also see if the Abrams X is truly worth its money, and if the T-14 is also worth the grind for. So let's just jump right into it. So the first thing which we'll be analyzing is going to be its max speed on how fast these vehicles can go. So the max speed of the T-14 Armata is going to be 45 miles per hour, as you guys can see here, and this is actually a very fast tank compared to a lot of other tanks in this game. However, it does fall short to the Abrams X with its max speed being 50 miles per hour, significantly being able to outspeed the T-14 Armata in both its turning speed but also in its maximum speed. So the next thing which we're gonna be testing is the cannon damage of each of the tanks, and this might be a very big surprise. First up, the Abrams X has a 120mm cannon and the T-14 Armata has a 125mm cannon, which means that statistically it should do more damage than these Abrams X. However, what you guys are about to see right now would truly change the way you view the world. So for this damage test, we will be using the T90, which has exactly the same health as the Abrams X, standing at 1700 health, which will be definitely a good test to see which cannon actually does more damage. So first up, starting with the T-14 Armata, it was able to leave the T90 at exactly 62%. However, once it fires its 3 cannon shells, it will be able to fully kill the T90, which makes it a quiet average cannon damage for a tank in this game. Now, testing the Abrams X, it has been a dramatic change, and I believe the developers have kind of changed the cannon of the Abrams X, unless I might be wrong, because it was actually able to do 50% of health of the T90, and this makes absolutely no sense to me, since statistically it should actually do less damage than the Armata, because the Armata has a 5mm cannon bigger than the actual Abrams X, and I find this very confusing in statistics. However, it does take actually 2 cannon shots in order to destroy the T90 for an Abrams X. We have tested this a few times, and really I just do not understand how this is actually possible. So the cannon damage and overall cannon will actually be going to the Abrams X, but also Abrams X has a slightly better reload speed, and the reload speed of the T-14's cannon is actually also slower, which is another detail I would like to point out. Next up, we will also be testing the machine gun and how long it will take for each machine gun to actually be able to destroy the T-90. So first up, we're gonna be starting with the T-14. And this is actually an excellent speed for any vehicle, if I'm gonna be completely honest. The T-14 has one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful, explosive machine gun in the whole entire game. Now let's test what the Abrams X can do. So the Abrams X was also able to shred the T-90 in a similar amount of time that the T-14 was able to shred it in. However, it does do it a little bit slower, even though it has its own machine gun, but also it has an explosive gun, which would actually be statistically meaning that it should do more damage overall. However, the T-14 barely takes the edge on the speed of how fast it can actually destroy a vehicle, because it was actually able to destroy the T-90 in almost 1 machine gun clip, and I completely do not understand how this is actually possible. However, I will actually be giving the edge to the T-14 in terms of the damage from its explosive machine gun. However, the Abrams X does have more consistent damage intake, if I'm gonna be completely honest with you, at least from my personal experience of using it. But we also have to take into consideration the fact that the M3 Bradley does also do more damage than the Abrams X, and kind of like a trade with the explosive cannon. However, we have to take into consideration the M3 Bradley does not have a lot of health, and the T-14 roughly has the same health as the Abrams X. Anyway, we'll get into that section very soon. So now getting into the health section, and on average the T-14 and the Abrams X should have a very similar amount of health, knowing that the Abrams X currently has 1000 2,700 health. However, the T-14 does not have any statistical data out in the wiki yet, so I cannot provide you guys this info. However, it does have similar health, at least from my experience of using it. So here we have it. First, we're going to be testing the RPG damage on the Abrams X and how much it's actually going to take until the Abrams X gets destroyed. And as you guys can see with this speed up video, the Abrams X gets destroyed after around 4 shots, and on average the RPG deals 29 to 30% of damage to the Abrams X from each shot. And now testing the T-14, this has been actually a huge surprise for me, and the T-14 takes around 18 to 19% of average damage from the RPG, and I actually find this super weird. However, Gizmo Tech has confirmed to us recently that this tank will be realistic in terms of its armor, meaning that this tank will be able to tank a lot more shots from both the RPG, and as you guys can see on the screen right now, the Javelin also does a similar damage to the T-14, where the Abrams X will fall short to both of them. However, the Abrams X does have one advantage, which is the advantage against pay-to-win players who like to use the explosive sniper in order to destroy the tank. And as you guys can see on this first test, we're going to be testing on how much shots it takes for the explosive sniper to destroy the T-14. Also, one detail before I start this damage test, I would like to point out that the average damage of one shot of the explosive sniper to the T-14 will be around 10 to 11%. Now, as I fully completed this damage test, it will take around 11 explosive sniper shots in order to destroy the T-14, and I believe some of this information can be slightly inaccurate, and the reason why I say this is because it also depends which area of the tank you guys will be able to hit. However, for both of these tanks, I am trying to hit exactly the same area. So now testing the Abrams X, it will roughly take an average of 8 to 7% from one explosive sniper shot in exactly the same space. Now, let's test exactly how many shots it's going to take to fully destroy it. So the Abrams X will take roughly 15 shots from the explosive sniper to be fully destroyed from the same area as the T-14, and this gives Abrams X a significant advantage in terms of durability against explosives such as the explosive sniper, and really, it's such a relief to see this. Anyway, the next thing which we're gonna be testing is going to be the brute force test on which of these will win in an encounter of them fully unleashing all of their superpower against each other. So here we are. I am going to be using the T-14, and the other person that's helping me in this damage test is going to be using the Abrams X, and now we are all unleashing all of our explosive on each other. He's using of course, the cannon shot, explosive cannon, and the Javelin, and the Javelin seemed to be giving him a significant advantage in this encounter, leaving him on 8% after this fight. However, you guys have to take one information into consideration after seeing that the Abrams X has barely won on 8%. We have to also remember the fact that first up we have to remember which environment we're in, and the Abrams X does definitely win the game in terms of environmental advantages, because first up it has the Javelin. It also has somewhat better camouflage, in fact, because it also allows you guys to be able to see where other opponents are at, and you could also do some sneak attacks with the Abrams X as well. So in terms of actual brute force encounter and strategies and all that stuff, the Abrams X will also be winning against the T-14. However, also we have to take into consideration that the Abrams X cannon shot does more damage than the T-14's, but also another detail I'd like to take into consideration is that the fact that the explosive machine gun is going to be more consistent with the Abrams X. So the final result of this video is that the Abrams X is still the best tank in the game. However, it is closely matched by the T-14, and it really depends which player is using which vehicle, and at the end of the day, it all depends on skill. And I really have to recommend you guys to still buy the Abrams X, because it will still give you guys a great advantage over every player in this game if you are willing to spend the Robux. Anyway guys, that's all I have for today's video. Let me know in the comment section down below if I missed any test or any detail. And this is once again probably my longest video which I have ever done. And the reason why I did such a long video for you guys, because I would like to be as accurate as I possibly can with the information on how good they actually are and how much I can provide to you guys in quality, because that's what I've been focusing in the next recent videos which I'll be posting, and I'll try to make my videos from 8 to 10 minutes long to also make it a little more entertaining for y'all. By the way, I would like to give huge credit to TextPL for helping me out with this video, and make sure to join his clan, which you guys can see on the screen right now. It is the Shadow Company, and feel free to show him some love because he's currently trying to recruit some people to join his clan, and this is kind of a way of me giving back to him for helping me out in this video.